The Last Word, Episode 19. The Last Word, Why This Story Matters. Intro. This is the final episode of this series. We've traveled a long way together, through evidence, law, grief, resistance, momentum, and the slow, painful process of uncovering the truth. But before we close, I want to step back. Not to look at the documents or the legal arguments or the institutional failures, but to look at the meaning behind all of it. Because this story isn't just about what happened. It's about why it matters. Section 1, a story that should never have been necessary. This entire journey, the assessments, the misrepresentations, the unlawful charges, the property caution, the refusals to investigate, none of it should have been necessary. Families shouldn't have to become legal experts. Carers shouldn't have to fight institutions. People in grief shouldn't have to defend their homes. Public bodies shouldn't need to be forced into honesty. This story exists because the system failed, repeatedly, consistently, and predictably. And that failure has consequences. Not just for me. Not just for Andy. But for every family who has ever trusted a public authority to act lawfully and compassionately. Section 2, the truth is the most powerful thing we have. If there's one thing this journey has taught me, it's this. Truth is powerful. It cuts through misrepresentation. It outlasts deflection. It survives silence. It exposes patterns. It forces institutions to confront themselves. Truth doesn't need permission. It doesn't need approval. It doesn't need to be convenient. It just needs to be spoken. And once spoken, it cannot be unheard. Section 3, why this story matters beyond my family. This story matters because it reveals something bigger than one case. It shows how systems can drift away from the law. How oversight can fail. How vulnerable people can be harmed. How institutions can protect themselves instead of the public. How silence can become a shield for wrongdoing. But it also shows something else. How ordinary people, carers, families, citizens, can uncover the truth. How evidence can expose patterns. How persistence can break through silence. How one voice can become many. How a movement can begin with a single story. This story matters because it shows what is possible when people refuse to give up. Section 4, the human thread running through everything. At its heart, this story isn't about councils or laws or institutions. It's about people. It's about my parents, their dignity, their rights, their memory. It's about my partner, her strength, her fear, her resilience. It's about Andy, his courage, his clarity, his refusal to be silenced. It's about every family who has ever been pressured, misled, or dismissed. It's about love. It's about loss. It's about the responsibility we feel to protect the people who protected us. That human thread is what gives this story its weight. It's what makes it matter. Section 5, what I hope you take from this. If you've listened to this series, here's what I hope stays with you. That truth matters. That evidence matters. That persistence matters. That families matter. That carers matter. That justice matters. That accountability matters. And that no system, no matter how large, how complex, or how entrenched, is beyond scrutiny. Because systems are made of people. And people can change. Section 6, closing the circle. When I began this journey, I didn't know where it would lead. I didn't know how long it would take. I didn't know how heavy it would become. But I knew one thing. I couldn't walk away. Not from the truth. Not from the evidence. Not from what happened to my family. Not from what happened to others. And now, at the end of this series, I can say this. The truth is out. The pattern is exposed. The silence is broken. The story is told. And that matters. More than I ever realized at the beginning. OUTRO. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying with this story. Thank you for giving it space, attention, and understanding. This is the end of the series. But it is not the end of the truth. And it is not the end of the change that must follow. For now, this is where we leave it. This has been The Last Word.